Supply chains enter back to school season, where Girl Scouts and supply chains intersect, and encouraging robots to get along. Pull up a chair and join us as the editors of DC Velocity discuss these stories as well as news and supply chain trends on this week's Logistics Matters podcast. Hi, I'm Dave Maloney. I'm the Group Editorial Director at DC Velocity. Welcome. Logistics Matters is sponsored by Zebra Robotics Automation. How can you drive down your cost per unit and make every movement count? Read Zebra Robotics Automation's latest ebook, Unlocking Fulfillment Potential, to learn how their Zebra Symmetry fulfillment ecosystem was engineered to boost your profits. You'll discover a unique threefold strategy that enables workers to pick more items in less time with up to 30% fewer robots compared to legacy systems. Download it now at zebra.com/fulfillment. As usual, our DC Velocity senior editors Ben Ames and Victoria Kickham will be along to provide their insights into the top stories of this week. But to begin today, now that we've passed the midsummer mark on the calendar, retailers are now focused on the next dates on the retail calendar, and that's back to school season. This is traditionally the second busiest season of the retail year, but like everything in supply chains in 2025, this year has not been normal. To find out how they're coping and what we can expect over the coming weeks, we welcome today's guest. Manish Kapoor is the founder and CEO of Growth Catalyst Group. Welcome, Manish, to Logistics Matters.
Thank you. Good to be here.
To begin today, can you share a little bit about Growth Catalyst Group and the work that you do in supply chains?
Absolutely. As the name suggests, Growth Catalyst is focused on enabling growth for our clients, and they can be medium to large size businesses, and really focused on the supply chain and how to use supply chain, the technology related to it, and latest AI tools that can be applied to generate growth for our customers.
And as I mentioned in the introduction, it has been a bit of a roller coaster year for supply chains as they navigate the on again, off again tariffs and trade policies. What's your take on where we are now, here in the early stages as we begin the second half of the year?
I think, as we all know, it's been pretty rocky, not just the tariffs, the geopolitical tensions, the economies locally in different countries and continents. Things are uncertain. So I'd say uncertainty is how I would describe it. And the supply chains and the businesses are being tested for how resilient they are and coming up with the right solutions for the issues that they're running, the headwinds that they're running into. Some companies are doing well, the others are struggling. And it all exposes them how fundamental strength is for these businesses and how they're able to combat these challenges that they're facing today.
It certainly does take a lot of resiliency. And of course, I mentioned in the introduction about how different this year is. So what would you say about the back to school season? How different is it from usual?
It's quite different in the way that, because of the economic situation and the tariffs, the companies that decided to buy ahead, as we all know, some of the inventory, and it's questionable that they buy the right quantity, that they buy the right things, right items so far ahead, and again, is it aligned to the demand that we're going to see this time? And of course, while all this is happening, inflation and other factors are impacting the consumer sentiments in terms of how much they want to spend. Of course, back to school is coming, and we all hope that it goes strong because it does help the economy and helps all of us. But it's very unusual circumstances that I haven't seen before.
Manish, in your career, you worked both for Amazon and FedEx, so you have experience in delivery. Do you see continued growth for final mile parcel in back to school deliveries, or is the in-store experience still important for back to school shoppers?
Yeah, great question, David. I've spent a couple of decades in last mile and final mile home delivery at FedEx and Amazon. Actually got to start Amazon's home delivery as first employee at Amazon Logistics. With all that background, while I'm passionate and biased for last mile, I believe that the back to school shopping is also an experience, a family experience. And I'm speaking, I have three kids as well. I usually look forward to going to the stores with my kids, as they were growing up, running around looking for things, and it just builds the excitement for the school. Having said that, we also know that the consumer behavior is shifting more towards speed, convenience, and most consumers expect it for free. And last mile is the most complicated mile. It is the most expensive mile for obvious reason. When you look at the large trucks on the highways, the 53-foot trucks, those are have a couple of thousand packages in it, but the last mile truck has a couple of hundred packages. So obviously the cost per package goes up. Cost is a big factor as far as that's concerned. But the consumers again will continue to expect things to come home. They will continue to expect faster delivery. Over the years, we've seen, how Amazon launched 2-day Prime. 2 days seems to be pretty normal these days. It's all, in some cases, there are ultra fast delivery companies that can deliver using crowdsourcing within 30 minutes if needed. Store to home delivery is up. So I think the complexity as far as final mile is concerned will continue to be there. And just like everything else, the back to school supplies convenience applies here as well. Life's gotten busy, kids have their own activities. I'm hoping that still the focus on the experience that the family experience has, sitting down at the dining table, building that list, or the schools have provided the list and deciding, what brands you want to buy, how much you want to buy. Do you do it online? Do you have it, or ultimately go to the store? I am personally looking forward to the season within the stores. While I know my help, in our cases, the most of the buying happens online these days. So to summarize, the last mile delivery will continue to grow. It's tied to the overall convenience and speed experience that consumers are looking for. And so it will shift, but I also believe that the in-store experience will continue. That's the challenge for the stores. Are they going to have the inventory when the consumers walk in? And are they going to have the right things at the right price? Because the tariffs will have impact on the pricing as well. So those are some of the challenges that we're looking forward to.
You had just mentioned about having the right things. With having bought the inventory so much earlier this year, being that they were trying to get ahead of the tariffs, do you anticipate there'll be any shortages in the traditional back to school categories?
Yeah, they can be, David. Within our supply chain terminology, it's called S&OP, which is sales and operating planning. And it really focuses on, do you have an accurate demand forecast by unit, right? By SKU, by the inventory. So do you have the right level of inventory for by SKU that you projected? Now you're projecting months in advance, right? Based on the behavior of the consumers. And in this case, because of tariffs, some companies pull the inventory ahead. That can be assumed as a big thing, a good thing, that they have the inventory in advance, but the risk is pretty high as well because now you've locked in your capital earlier on. And again, if your demand is forecast is slightly off, that can have a significant impact on either you'll have too much inventory on hand or you'll run out. And both are bad. Financially, if you have too much, it impacts the business uh, from financial standpoint. And if we run out, obviously revenue gets impacted and the consumers are not happy. So I think the uncertainty with this, I believe, will have an impact overall. And then while all this is happening, the consumer confidence is getting impacted. And what we've seen is trends towards finding other alternatives, and consumers are shifting more towards value-driven buying. They're not necessarily cost conscious in all cases, but value driven buying. It doesn't even make sense for us to, if you're buying 10 of one things, maybe they should buy only five in that case. And then we've also seen shift towards thrift purchasing, especially in the back to school environment that can be applicable.
You had just mentioned consumer confidence, and our recent polling has shows that consumer confidence seems to be waning, but yet consumers are still spending. Do you think that'll be maintained? And as we now approach the holiday shipping season coming up soon, or the holiday season for purchasing, what can we expect with all of that for holiday shopping?
Yeah, the consumer confidence is getting impacted, and there is a shift on what they're buying, how much they're buying. The overall economy seems to be doing okay. I think that's what you highlighting even then. So I think buyers are conscious as they're getting smarter because of the the prices going up, and the what you are able to get with the dollar is shifting as well. Um, and as far as the holidays are concerned, again, every year this is a big discussion about, hey, is the holiday spirit going to sustain? Is it going to go up or down? I think the next few weeks up leading up to the holidays and how the policies shift, how the tariffs have an impact. Obviously, we're dealing with a number of wars globally as well. All that has an impact on the sentiments. Um, and I think in some ways the holiday spirit kicks in, and we're all hoping that the consumers will still be above a certain level as far as buying is concerned. But like I said, I think the choice of what they're buying is shifting. It's more focused on higher value that they can get, and similarly as I described earlier, we'll see at least a portion of some shift towards the thrift buying as well.
That makes sense. This year, of course, we have seen supply chains disrupted a lot by the trade policies. What can supply chain managers do to better prepare for the ups and downs of these changing trade policies and better manage their peak periods?
Yeah, great question. So I think we saw massive disruption during the pandemic, as we all know, and now it's geopolitical and the tariffs related. I think it's the up and down. And so, yes, it is a tariff, but it's also the back and forth and the uncertainty related to tariffs that's caused a lot of confusion. We've had companies that supply chain managers that actually said, okay, let's buy ahead, as we discussed. Some are rapidly shifting the sources. Some are saying, hey, let's not have all the eggs, all the procurement done from manufacturing done in China. Let's shift to other countries. We've had companies that come and say, hey, the US market, just relying on only the US market can be risky. Let's expand to other countries. So companies are going through a lot of change. Our advice to the supply chain managers is to uh, is to not get too paranoid or overreact to things that are outside of your control and focus on things that you can control. And an example of that is, hey, just looking inside and saying, hey, is your supply chain design healthy? Are your financials in a good shape? Are you thinking enough about resilience? Are you applying technology in a better way? Have you used the AI tools to automate where you can? And what all that does is improves their health to handle the headwinds better. It's almost like taking vitamins to make sure you're healthy. When the bug hits you, you don't fall sick. So I think our advice has been just relooking at the entire supply chain, making sure your buildings are in the right place, making sure you're using the right partners for transportation. And so it's not an afterthought, even the shipping side of it. So I think that's been the focus, that let's make sure you're doing everything possible to improve your financial health, and the supply chain design is able to adapt to the ups and downs that you're facing. When you do that, you're able to handle things that are out of your control better. So that's been the advice to the supply chain managers.
Very good advice. We've been talking to Manish Kapoor. He's the founder and CEO of Growth Catalyst Group. Thank you again, Manish, for being our guest today on Logistics Matters.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Now let's take a look at some of the other supply chain news from the week. And Victoria, you wrote this week about an unusual program to help advance future leaders for supply chains. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, Dave, happy to. So, this involves DHL Supply Chain, the Girl Scouts, and a program called Solutions Superstar. So, we've talked before about the gender gap in the supply chain. Research shows that although more women are building careers in the industry, there's still far fewer of them than men, especially in leadership roles. In fact, 2024 research from Gartner and the women's industry group called Awesome found that growth of women in supply chain roles had actually stalled last year. That research showed that women comprise 40% of the supply chain workforce, and they represent about a third of leadership roles. Now, this is according to the group's annual Women in Supply Chain survey. The newest version of that report will be out later this year, so maybe things have changed in 12 months. But regardless, there's a general sense that more can be done to urge women, especially young women, to consider logistics, transportation, and warehousing as a career path. So this week, the contract logistics provider DHL Supply Chain announced a move to do just that. They are partnering with the Girl Scouts of the USA on a program that's designed to inspire girls to become, and I'm quoting here, creative, solution-minded leaders. And it also introduces them to supply chain careers.
Well, Victoria, that does sound like an interesting effort to target a young audience. What does the program involve?
Yeah, so this is aimed at girls in kindergarten through 12th grade. And it's a Girl Scouts patch program. So girls can undertake a range of activities to earn the Solutions Superstar patch. The activities help girls develop creative thinking, teamwork, and problem solving skills. And examples include, and I love this one, planning cookie delivery routes and even inventing new gadgets. The program also includes a future focus element that helps girls connect what they learn to real world careers in supply chain and logistics, but also engineering and technology. So DHL and Girl Scouts of the USA co-developed the Solution Superstar program, and it went through a 2-year pilot phase and is now available to Girl Scouts nationwide. I should also say that the program is part of a broader DHL effort to identify, develop, and support the next generation of supply chain leaders.
I like that idea of the cookie delivery route. And again, we talked about final mile in our interview earlier. And I guess if you really think of it, Girl Scouts are people who have pioneered final mile with making their deliveries to all the homes where they sell cookies.
Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like a great innovative way to introduce these girls to a great profession.
I think so. It really stood out to me. So it seems really good.
Thank you, Victoria.
You're welcome.
And Ben, you have been looking into how robot manufacturers are adapting their technologies so that different types of robot automation can interact with each other. Can you share more?
Yeah, I'm glad to, and I'll try not to get too deep in the weeds here. But, a modern distribution center, fulfillment center, or factories as well, are often full of automation at many different levels. There might be robots like AMRs and AGVs and robotic picking arms. You might have dense storage like an ASRS. You might have different software platforms. But often each of those units operates by itself, or it simply takes orders from just one source, like a warehouse management system software or something. And that can make it hard for them all to work together as a team the most efficiently. But lately, we've been seeing some progress in the industry toward fixing that situation. There are a couple different approaches, but one of them is called VDA 5050. This is an open shared software standard that lets communication happen between AMRs, autonomous mobile robots, fleet management systems, etc., regardless of the manufacturer. And specifically, what happened most recently is that Seagrid, which is a major vendor of AMRs and AGVs, said its robots would be compliant with that standard by 2026.
Well, Ben, that sounds like a very promising solution to integrate all of these different robots, but for a shared standard to work, then other robot vendors have to adopt it also, right?
Exactly. It wouldn't be of any use if only one manufacturer was using it. But we're seeing a broad adoption of this particular one. So a few examples of other companies adopting VDA 5050 in their warehouse automation platforms are folks like the vehicle automation technology company Bluebotics, Rockwell Automation's Otto Motors AMR division, and the Danish AMR builder Mobile Industrial Robots, or MIR. And so, as more and more robot makers add this standard, we'll start to see bigger benefits. According to Seagrid, that could include things like connecting Seagrid's AMRs with other VDA 5050 compliant ones, reducing all the custom integration complexity that might have to happen to fit a new robot into a building, unifying fleet orchestration across diverse equipment providers, and even future-proofing automation infrastructure because it's open architecture. So we're not quite there to the finish line yet, but we're seeing some real progress. And as this starts to pick up speed, we could see warehouses begin to run a little bit more efficiently and quickly.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And as companies will normally want a mix of technologies within their buildings, finding the best robotic solution for each specific task.
That's exactly so. Yep, it's kind of exciting to see it work out.
Thank you, Ben.
Glad to.
We encourage listeners to go to dcvelocity.com for more on these and other supply chain stories. Also, check out the podcast notes section for some direct links to read more about the topics that we discussed today. And we'd like to thank Manish Kapoor of Growth Catalyst Group for being our guest. We welcome your comments on this topic and our other stories. You can email us at podcast@agilebme.com. We also encourage you to subscribe to Logistics Matters at your favorite podcast platform. Our new episodes are uploaded on Fridays. Speaking of subscribing, check out our sister podcast series, Supply Chain in the Fast Lane, co-produced by the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals and Supply Chain Exchange. We're in the midst of a new 8-episode series on the top threats to our supply chains. A new episode drops each Tuesday, so check out Supply Chain in the Fast Lane wherever you get your podcasts. And a reminder that Logistics Matters is sponsored by Zebra Robotics Automation. How can you drive down your cost per unit and make every movement count? Read Zebra Robotics Automation's latest ebook, Unlocking Fulfillment Potential, to learn how their Zebra Symmetry fulfillment ecosystem was engineered to boost your profits. You'll discover a unique threefold strategy that enables workers to pick more items in less time with up to 30% fewer robots compared to legacy systems. Download it now at zebra.com/fulfillment. We'll be back again next week with another edition of Logistics Matters. Be sure to join us. Until then, have a great week.